really you really have to go on. Okay, that is very important. So try to be hands-on, try to keep up with the trends, try to keep up with whatever the person is doing, whatever is happening in the world, so that you know what you're going to do. And I must say, last but not least, it is very, very important to take your family with you, to take your people with you, and to really, be happy. That is one thing. In the night, when you go back, say thank you. And are you happy? Ask yourself. If you're not happy, don't do that. Because what is life? Life is so, it is something we have to be happy doing what we want doing. And you'll find when you are happy and you are a entrepreneur, you'll find that you can really help anybody to become, big entrepreneurs. And an empowered woman entrepreneur can bring about social change and economic change in the society. And it all starts with us. So we all have to be happy. That's my main thing today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kochhar. There was a lot of valuable tips there for women entrepreneurs. And I think when we're talking about empowering women and increasing the financial empowerment for women, I think we cannot leave men out of the picture. So I would like to invite Mr. Gursharan Singh Chima, the Senior Vice President of Amway India Enterprises. Amway, as you may know, has over 5.5 lakh active direct sellers, of which 60% are women. Mr. Chima comes with a rich experience of over 30 years in sales and operations and business development in various markets across India. He has a track record of spearheading new business initiatives, process improvements, infrastructure setup, and managing large business volumes. He's been associated with Amway for 20 years. Let's hear him speak now. Mr. Chima, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be part of this panel. And, more importantly, the speakers that we have got here, it was so inspiring to hear Dr. Blossom Kochhar. That's one. And at the same time, the subject, it's very close to my heart. I heard one of the speakers saying that economy cannot move forward without the participation of the women. But I very strongly personally feel that even family cannot move forward without the participation of the women. And even society cannot move forward without the participation of the women. All these things put together makes the economy. Now, important is, what we are discussing right now is very, very, deeply linked with something called women empowerment, a subject very close to each of our hearts. So not only with the women, but also with the men at home. When we look within the four walls of the family, we know what kind of influence that the women hold in the family, starting from the mother to the grandmother and then to the daughters and, wives. That is one part. But then when we look at the larger picture, I think, somewhere we have realized that women play a very, very critical role, and they have to be alongside men in terms of taking the economy forward. I'm going, refer to a few data points which I digged into, and that showed what kind of impact the women participation can make on the society. If you look at, the enterprises, as of today, India has 13 to 15 million women-owned enterprises. Dr. Blossom Kochhar was speaking. I remember that even I used to feel, amazing, inspiring story that Dr. Kochhar is. Her product range came up, and I used to see it in every store. And of course, her persona also always was of great influence to a lot of women. Now, coming back to what we are talking about here with regard to the economy, with regard to the country, it represents 20% of the enterprises in the country, which is not small. And at the same time, there is a report by Bain and Company and the Google report titled Powering the Economy with Her. It is talking about that it is going to grow 90% in the next 5 years in India. Exactly what, the earlier speaker was talking about. And I think this talks a lot, not only about the realization that we all have, but also the urge, as far as the women are concerned, in order to move forward. Now, the other point that I wanted to bring up here is that there is an IMF estimate that says the equal participation of women in the workplace, hold your breath, this is something important, can increase India's GDP by 27% by 2025. I mean, look at it, the impact that we are talking about by the women participation. It is important while I'm representing the organization called Amway India, which is a flag bearer in direct selling. I will just very quickly, refer to how direct selling has a linkage with the women empowerment and how we are promoting women entrepreneurship under our umbrella. Indirect selling, 60% participation is by women. Now, you can always say that why 60% participation by women? I mean, is it easy business or is it, what is so good about it? I mean, the fact is two parts, it's the urge of entrepreneurship. The second is about our ability to reach to the masses across the geographies. The third is, which does not differ as far as the genders are concerned, how women are able to participate more here. We are talking about the inbuilt, your urge to prove yourself, and which Dr. Kochar, you were also referring to, I mean, your ability to take it up and then learn and then get into that. And that's exactly what the direct selling talks about. And within that, what Amway talks about. We have 60% of participation from women today in our overall gamut of things. Important is the last 2 years that we were talking about, and which you also referred to, the pandemic. I mean, there was such a situation, and isn't it such a critical role played by the women? Starting from the families to the overall businesses, how they managed. In our case, what happened that women entrepreneurs took upon themselves to spread the awareness about importance of immunity, right? And how immunity is important. And that had a direct linkage with their business because we deal with, healthcare products. And I can tell you the kind of success that our women entrepreneurs have achieved, not only in terms of growing the business, but also about spreading the awareness and the kind of influence that they could, spread in the society. The third part is, it does not call for a big investment or, it is negligible or a zero cost investment. So that is the second part. The third part that we talk about here is that it is as per your own convenience. I mean, whatever time you want to give it. I mean, unlike, 9 to 5 corporate job or, 10 to 7 kind of corporate job, we are saying that our business opportunity is flexible. You decide how much time you want to invest and what kind of categories of the products that you want to work with, which geography that you want to get into it. So this flexibility, as far as is concerned, that plays a key role. The third important aspect that we all realized, and of course, the Indian government have been always talking about, the skill building. Indian government has been talking about, digitization. And I think in the last 2 years, digitization has come a long way. I mean, look at it. This particular meeting is happening, digitally. And if we were to travel from one place to the other place, I think, so that would have really taken a lot of efforts on each of our parts in terms of not only logistics, but also the consumption of the time. So that became an opportunity within the crisis, which a lot of, people took up and understood. And Amway has been the flag bearer in all these 3 categories, providing the micro entrepreneurship opportunity to the people across the age groups after 18 years and across the geographies. Second was about the flexibility. The third was about low investment or zero investment. And fourth was about digitization. Now I can always take you forward how we are also working as a responsible corporate citizen in terms of skill building. We have been into skill building in various states. We have already done, a lot of work in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, and other states are to follow. We did train around 200 women in terms of, earning their livelihood. That is exactly what we want to spread in future in various other states also. The third part that I would like to say here is, we as a corporate now on the side of the table, while we're talking about entrepreneurship, as an organization, we have been really the flag bearer. We all have heard a term called work from home. So, and they started long back this for our women colleague. It all started with that. Okay, so it's 2 days in a week. We used to say that, okay, it's going to be work from home for you. So that kind of flexibility. We also have been providing the flexibilities and the facilities in addition to that, about, say, for example, having the crash facilities in the offices, so that young mothers, who are working in the organization, can always take care of their newborns or the small babies and can bring them to the office, and there is absolute care being taken. So what I'm trying to say here is that the subject that PhD Chambers of Commerce and Industry has taken up today is so relevant, not only for today, but for future. And I think we all, as collective, society, be it the government, be it the public-private partnership, or be it the large business houses, I think we are heading in the right direction. And as I said, increase in India's GDP by 27% by 2025, I think is a great outcome of all of that. I will take a pause here, and I would be keenly looking forward to listening to other panelists also, as I heard Dr. Kocher, and I'm looking forward to being inspired and really influenced. Thank you so much. And I'll be very open to answering the questions from any of the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chima. And thank you also for pointing out that when businesses look after the needs of their women employees, that also translates to good business. So thank you for those views. I would now like to invite Mrs. Rakhi Gupta Bhandari, IAS officer and the Resident Commissioner of Punjab. She's from the 1997 batch of the Punjab cadre who has held important positions in the center as well as state government. Presently, she's posted as the Resident Commissioner of Punjab stationed at Delhi. Besides all her professional pursuits, I also want to add that she has an avid interest in music, dance, and writing. And she has released this Krishna Bhajan in October 2020, which I'll just play it in the background so that you have an idea of her skills as well. And in the meantime, I'll introduce her. She had earlier served, sorry, I just need to minimize this window, as the Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs, Deputy Commissioner of Faridkot District in Punjab, Director of NIFT Delhi, and of course, many other important positions. She's a graduate in psychology from the Lady Shri Ram College in New Delhi, a postgraduate from Delhi School of Economics, and an MPhil in Defense and Strategic Studies from the National Defense College. She's a recipient of the prestigious Sri Shakti Puraskar and the President of India's Silver Medal for Census Operation in 2001. She was deputed by the Government of India to Bhutan for overseeing the first parliamentary elections as a national observer. So I would now like to invite Mrs. Rakhi to share a few words.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Hi, a very good afternoon to all the women and men that are present with us today. Let me first start by thanking the PhD Chambers of Commerce, especially the She Wing, the Sheroes, as I call them, for this warm invite, and Sartaj, who drew me into this talk, because it was a very short notice, but she kind of really encouraged me into this. She says, no, this is all about women and we need you here. So here I am with you, reporting from Delhi virtually. And as Mr. Gursharan Singh Chima just said that, in this age of digitization, we're all connected. So it's amazing. So a big namaste to all of you. And all the sponsors who actually believe in the power of women, because they, are here for you all, for us, literally. And I'm so glad that there are people who still believe in us. And that's what keeps us going, I think, as women. So now I have so many hats to wear. Now I don't know where to start from virtually, because a woman, Punjab resident commissioner and IS officer. So I'll try and put it all into a box and, kind of try to stick to the time limit so that it doesn't get boring. So entrepreneurship, I'm sure you all have been discussing earlier, because I missed some of the discussion. I joined in when Dr. Blossom Kocher had started, and she's one of those women whose cosmetics I started using, when we were just teenagers and growing up, and I wanted to look really beautiful. So, one thought that these were the magic aromatherapy, and the way she marketed it, all of us. So I think she and Shanaz Hussain, they dominated the market during our times virtually. So we've kind of grown up, with these, looking at these women. And another woman who literally, her business grew, and I also grew from Punjab, was Mrs. Bector. So she was another one of those role models we looked up to. How? Because we started eating the biscuits and cakes, and before we knew it, everything on our tables virtually had these, cremica stuff. So it was just not like an unconscious thing, but it was happening unconsciously. And all our, marriage, what do you call those boxes, those beauty boxes, so-called, had Blossom Culture stuff and Shanaz Hussain stuff. So everybody was very excited about this. So anyways, now without wasting further time, this is all because I had to, since Blossom was on this panel, I really wanted to congratulate her. She's one person I've grown up seeing. I'll start by narrating, because entrepreneurship is all about building a community of women and being a woman with a difference and starting differently. So as all the speakers have been mentioning, we need to be different. I'll start as a young officer. I'll narrate a little small story, because that's going to put it in place, that entrepreneurial skills, you need to develop everywhere. Whether you're in government, whether you're in a private sector job, whether you're an MNC, whether you're doing whatever. Entrepreneurship is something which is basically an initiative, an enterprise, an innovation of sorts, and being different from the rest. So as a young, enthusiastic woman, SDM, posted in Sangrur, I remember around 25 years back when I went on a surprise checking of the polling booth in Punjab. Now, Sangrur is the heartland of Punjab. The Malwa belt is the heart of Punjab, for people who don't know, because I was a Delhiite through and through. I really didn't know much about Punjab. So when I landed as the SDM and went on a surprise check of the polling booth without announcing, who I was. So I asked a very pointed question that, how much a percentage of polling has happened? Now, this guy, the polling officer, he looked at me from top to toe as if I was from outer space. And he was wondering why, I was asking this question. Because in the wildest of his dreams,
I think Mrs. Rakhi's screen got frozen. We'll just wait for a few seconds so that she can come back. No, I don't see her coming back in the waiting room either. Jigyasa, any thoughts?
I just called her office. We're just calling her office, and I think this is one of the side effects of digitalization.
Which I think it's a very small thing, I think, considering all the gifts of digitization.
So what are the side effects of digitalization? And just give us a minute or so.
Okay, no issues. I think until we're able to figure it out, I can move on to the next speaker. Is Archana here? Archana Agarwal?
Yeah, I think we should do that.
No, I think Archana is not in the room either. We also have a full house.
Yeah.
So there's probably
There's
probably a queue of people trying to enter in right now.
Ma'am will be joining in 2 minutes. Can we just move ahead with the introduction?
Okay. Okay, sure. We'll do that. So we actually have a panel discussion now with two very inspiring women, and I'd like to introduce them. I'd like to also call them up here. So the first is Deepti Ravula, the CEO of WeHub. It's an initiative of the government of Telangana state, and it's the first of its kind incubator for women entrepreneurs. It's situated in Hyderabad, and it supports women entrepreneurs with innovative ideas, solutions, and entities focusing on emerging areas in technology and allied sectors. Deepti herself is an electronics engineer by profession and by passion. She has 15 years of experience working in the US with Palm, Nokia, Qualcomm, and other major corporations. She joined the government of Telangana as a joint director for electronics in 2016, and now she's been appointed as the CEO of WeHub since its inception in 2017. And our other panelist is Mrs. Geeta Ramesh. She's the joint managing director of Kairali Ayurvedic Group. She hails from a family of acclaimed Veds. Accompanied by her husband, Mr. K.V. Ramesh, she has carried forward the legacy through Kairali, a brand synonymous with the 5,000-year-old medical science of Ayurveda. She launched the first Kairali Ayurvedic clinic center in New Delhi in 1989, followed by a self-sustaining wellness retreat at Palakkad, Kerala called Kairali the Ayurvedic Healing Village. Today, the company under its umbrella has over 30 centers spread in India and abroad. In 2017, she was conferred the Leading Women in Ayurveda Award. So welcome to both of you and thank you for being here. I look forward to our conversation together. I'd first like to begin my questions with Deepti.
Ekta ma'am is
Yeah.
with us. Let's just.
Okay.
She's with us.
Is Mrs. Rakhi back? Yeah.
I think we're connected back.
Yes. We can see you and hear you now.
Yeah, it's okay. I think, well, the powers of the internet, as they say.
Yes. You were narrating the story when your face got frozen. You were talking
That's okay. That's okay. So but I hope I'm not in the middle of a conversation. We weren't.
We were just about to start, so I think we'd love to, hear you finish first.
So all I wanted to say was, from this entire story, we first have fact, because as I mentioned that I realized only then that patriarchal systems and structures still existed in India. So one had been reading textbooks in LSR and D school that women are all empowered, etc. But this was the first-hand experience for me to realize that women have to actually be accepted in society as leaders, as innovators, as entrepreneurs. So I think the first lesson now we draw from this is that when we start on, let's not presume that we're going to be taken for granted, and let's not presume that everything will fall in place. There are going to be difficulties, there are going to be hurdles, and there are going to be insurmountable barriers put up because we've been saying that there are many structural challenges for us. Society has been structured in a certain way from time immemorial. It's not that we can just change it today. So it's a process, and let's not take it badly that why are women being looked at that. It's extremely interesting to note that women are growing, women entrepreneurship is growing, and how the society of women is actually holding hands with each other now. So today, you and me and so many other women who sit here today in front of our computer screens are all empowered women who are trying to break the glass ceiling for others. Now, the one thing which I would like to add here is that it's like a little caveat that while we women grow and we want opportunities for ourselves to grow, we don't like to promote other women, surprisingly, who are also growing along with us. Now, that's a bit of a sad story, and it's a reality today which we can discuss in front of other women. If we have come to that position and we have broken the glass ceiling, it's our duty to also help others break that glass ceiling. So you may be more fortunate, I may be more fortunate of having opportunities that others don't possess, but it's for us now, and the mantle is literally in our hands to handhold them, to help out other women to achieve those ends. And believe me, it gives a lot of satisfaction and a lot of strength to ourselves when we help other women to grow. So let's try doing that. And of course, all the things which we've been mentioning, that basically we need men also to support us. So there's another thing: when we grow, we kind of antagonize men somewhere because we have this feeling that we are growing bigger than them. So let's not have that in us. So it's both of us can grow together. Let them grow, let us grow, let everybody grow together. And I'm sure if we build that comforting environment around us, that other people are going to support us. So somehow I've always seen this kind of a mentality where women grow, that men kind of get antagonized and they feel that we are kind of eating into their profession, be it entrepreneurial skills, be it government, be it any sector. But if you notice that if you make people around you comfortable when you are growing and you are in the process of growth, you are not going to repent it. Rather, you're going to be extremely happy about it, because people are then going to be listening to you. It's going to be a team for you, and you're going to have a lot of moral support. You're going to have a lot of every support. I mean, a financial, moral, every kind of support you're going to get from men also. So this is a message which I usually bring along, because somehow we are completely into this, that as women we are growing bigger. Now it's not about bigger, better, as I say. It's about growing together. It's like about the yin and the yang. So we need both males and females in society. Eventually, the vision is for society to grow. So again, now since I'm from the Punjab cadre, I'm going to talk about the resilient nature you've seen in the Punjabi community as entrepreneurs. I think we have risen from ranks. We have managed the partition coming from wherever, and we have started from nowhere. We end up in Canada as the best guys. We end up in Australia as the best guys. So there has to be something. There has to be an ethos. There has to be, some zinc factor, as I call it. And I'm sure the women entrepreneurs also, be it from Punjab or be it from any other state, can inculcate these. So one day I was only trying to study that what are these characteristics, which make people who are different literally different. So one is believe in yourself. As Dr. Blossom was mentioning, you need to first have faith in yourself. If there's something in which you don't agree, 200%, you're not going to make others agree about it. First, you have to be satisfied whether what you're doing is right. So as Deputy Commissioner of Faridkot, being the first lady Deputy Commissioner from there, when I asked the women to join in and polling as presiding officers, there was a huge opposition. And the men community virtually came to me and said, "Aap hamari ladies ko bigad rahe ho." So I said, "Hello, I'm also a woman and I'm going to be conducting the election of the Helm Affairs. So it's my order that they kind of, sit there as presiding officers and polling officers." The men refused to understand. So this is, ऐसे तो हो ही नहीं सकता, इतना हो ही नहीं सकता कि जनानियां साड़ी जाके बंदे के सामने बैठी हुई. So I hope everybody can follow a bit of Punjabi here. And it was a challenge. So what I told them, now you have to find a way out, and that's what innovation is all about. So I literally told them, I said, okay, मैं पता है एक क्यों कर रही हूँ, क्योंकि मैं कल ही होते होंगे, मैं बहुत मैंने बड़ा औखा लगना है, मैंने भी चाहिए कुछ मेरे आले दुआले जनानियां हों. So for my company, I want them around. Would you believe it? The men actually took this kind of argument, and then they came forward, they got the women themselves, and the women obviously were so excited. First time sitting in position of power as a presiding officer, stamping and telling the men, "Aap udhar khade hoiye, aap line mein aiye." It was so empowering. It was such a small step. But as she mentioned again, we have to take baby steps. So you don't have to antagonize people. I could have sat there and said, "No, my rule will run, and I want the women." Things would have happened. But intrinsically, nobody would have been happy. Now, my whole point was to make them, a part of that movement and make them own that entire thing. So eventually, they were the ones then sending the women, "Okay, ji, koi gal nahi. Tusi bhi kar lo. Asi samajh sakte hain. Tuhade husband to DC Batinda hai. Tusi bhi kar le DC Faridkot ho. Tusi karai jande ho the." So that kind of ownership, that kind of excitement came in, and for us, then this entire election process became so much more exciting. And you won't believe it, but then we in Faridkot, we went to win this award, for which, of course, later then, I was even sent to Bhutan to observe the first parliamentary elections because they thought that I was a very good administrator, whereas I owe it to the women of Faridkot who actually, got that award for us and who actually got us that honor. So it's all about that women community. So as I'm saying, first believe in yourself. Don't antagonize people when you're building communities of entrepreneurship. And, it's like, don't stare at the steps, just step on them. So as women, we have this tendency because, we are planners. So we have to plan the rations, we have to plan the babies, we have to plan the house help, we have to plan the entire itinerary, and we love to plan it out. Early in the morning, I know all of us, unknowingly, we have lists in our mind. So I used to have a personal work list, and I used to have, a specific office work list. So all of us plan things that way. But what happens is with over planning, sometimes we just don't do the things. So we just keep planning. So as entrepreneurs, as women especially, we have this tendency of getting into deep-seated planning. Don't do that. Start on today and have a vision, but don't kind of, build up, as you saying, big investments and big visions and big dreams and big plans and projects that aaj hi main baith ke main Mars pe pahunch jaungi. It's not possible. So start on a boat, go slowly, start driving first, go on a cycle, driving, boat, aeroplane, helicopter, rocket, we'll land on Mars. But so it's a journey which we traverse. So let's not jump. We love to go to the end first. You must have noticed that many of us, when we have a book, we would first like to read the last page because we want to know what's happened first, then we want to come back to it. So we do a lot of this reverse engineering. So it's always nice to do it, but have your motive extremely clear, know where you are going and start. So, I'm jumping guns from like the business to the government, but I'm doing this just to connect and make you understand, all of you here, that even for government, the systems for women remain the same. So it's not very different from what you're facing in the private sector. The challenges, the growth opportunities, the hurdles, everything remains the same. But it's just how you overcome them without antagonizing people around and build your own little kind of network, your own system, your own style of functioning. So necessarily, why she was asking me that, how come you got into music and writing and I do all sorts of things once in a while? That's to reinvent my own self. Now, if I sit in front of the files 24/7, I'm not going to get reality into the picture and I'm going to get bored of myself. You have to be a happy person. If you're not happy, you're not going to make others happy. The onus of happiness literally lies in a woman. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she has so many roles. And then you're an officer, you're an entrepreneur, you're doing your bit. So those roles are all different. And you have to just switch from one to another. So don't try and don't give yourself excuses by saying that, I'm not able to do this because I'm doing that better. That doesn't make sense. You have to just learn to divide time. You have to learn to reinvent yourself. You have to help break stereotypes. People will give you all sorts of things. ऐसा तो हो ही नहीं सकता जी. In offices, we are often told, मैडम ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, ये तो हो ही नहीं, आज तक कभी नहीं होया जी, तुसी कितना कर लो. So I said, हाँ, ये तो गलत. They have actually. But then, I motivate them to find a way by which they can break that very barrier themselves. So at the end of the day, they come back and tell me, ये हो कितना गया जी? Okay, you did it. So then they realize that women have a different way of thinking and we do things very different. So because we have those maternal instincts within us, we have those, feminine instincts within us, we know. And we have a lovely sixth sense, by the way, which all of you sure, all the women, I'm sorry to bore all the men, but like as women, we have this sixth sense, which is very strong. We know how to use it and we do it at the right time. So these are things. And of course, now coming to the government side of things, government is promoting so much, their government is building businesses. It's trying to overcome challenges, both societal and other barriers, doing a lot of resource mobilization, a lot of financial planning, marketing, operations. So just do it is the approach. Don't kind of just keep thinking on it. And all these resources, cover all aspects, starting from mentoring, access to financing, and government is doing its best. So the only thing is I keep saying that, government is nothing. It's only there to help you out. It's like an aid for you. But eventually you have to learn to rise. And you have to start from scratch and have So Punjab government, for instance, we starting with this very nice scheme. It's called the Wish scheme. If you intend to read about it, please go on the net and Google, and I'm sure you'll discover something. So it's about entrepreneurship. It's about women being in positions where, also we have incubation. We're talking about incubation now. Since a lot of college and as I understand, college and university students are here. So university and colleges as incubators, where we develop talents, where we develop skill centers, where we develop kind of, everything ranging from X to Y to Z. And these are going to serve as facilitators and as motivators. Government also has a lot of mentors where they're guiding now and trying to hold hands. But learn to leave that hand also. So don't keep holding on to the government that, mujhe sarkar ye de de, mujhe sarkar wo de de. If you are important, government is also going to be, looking after you. I'm sure all those panelists today who are present here and who made a name for themselves in this world, they are being invited to all the talks now because government also wants them, and government wants to, put them up as showcases virtually, that people can start from their own. These people are not the ones who've taken help from government, so to say. They've started on their own. So just don't lean on the government and, ki hum loan lene bank se hum ye kar le. Try and innovate, try and find out ways how we can improve things. So I think I'll just end by saying that if I have more time, I can continue, but I thought I don't, I think we've spoken enough on this. And the only thing I wanted to drive again and again and again was that as women, we are different and learn to use that. So don't try and tell yourselves that we are the weaker selves and we are the, we are feminine, so we cannot do this. We can do everything. I have handled the home ministry also, and I have handled the, deputy commissioner assignment also. I have done everything myself. So I'm a personal example sitting in front of you, and everything is possible. Only thing is we need to change our own mindset. So and the world is a big place. There's nobody who's going to stop you if you have found what you want to. Have confidence in yourself, be happy, stay safe, stay positive. That's what I say. Even in this COVID positive world, stay positive. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Raki. So nice to hear these thoughts, and also especially that your happiness and your empowerment is actually in your own hands. And it's a very important lesson, I think, for most of us to take away. I would like to now call our panelists who've been, I've already introduced them, Deepti Ravila and Mrs. Geeta Ramesh. So I'll just pick up where I had left off.
Ji, I just wanted to thank Rakhi ji.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
And Sartaj, actually, I wanted to just say that she mentioned you, and you yourself are such an example of a woman who empowers a lot of other people, men and women. So you're really doing what she's describing that women entrepreneurs should be doing.
So I think that is why we all have connected over here. So on behalf of PhD Chambers and myself, Rakhi ji, heartfelt gratitude and very sincere appreciation. There is no amount of magnitude that you have left untouched, starting it from being an enterprising IS officer at a very young age, about 25 years back. You did what we couldn't have even thought. I mean, maybe 25 years back, I would have also not started with entrepreneurship. I won't be here. Though I just started about 5-6 years back. It is your persona, which is very warm, comforting, and these are two very important takeaways that I've got from your talk. One is the thought process. Your thought process, how to break a problem into a solution. Your problem was that how to get the elections conducted by a woman. So your solution was to employ the lady. So this is all about having a positive thought process. And second is the art of giving and comforting, which on a personal scale, I would say that I found it with you when I spoke to you with such an enterprising lady. It was the warmth, sheer warmth, and at such a short notice that you accepted and were ready to come here. Thank you so much, Rakhi ji, from all the members from PhD Chamber.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this talk. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll now call Mrs. Deepti Ravila and Mrs. Geeta Ramesh, and we'll have a few questions. I've already introduced them, So we'll come to Deepthi. Deepthi, you are somebody who has worked in the private sector and now you're working with the government. How do you think we can achieve an integrated policy framework to increase the share of women entrepreneurs, especially in India's GDP, as we've discussed? And can you share your experiences in trying to do this in Telangana?
Thank you so much, Ekta, and the PhD Chamber for having me. So coming on to the question, it is quite simple. The way to do a convergence is by just getting to work. There's no other way around it. So the first way to do this is actually make sure that the policies that are already there at the state and central government levels are actually evangelized better. And that is one of the key roles that we have actually placed. The reason I say this is because if you look at the amount of impetus that has been given to innovation and entrepreneurship, I mean, across the board and with women primarily, there are many, many avenues where states are actually looking to collaborate with each other to make sure that, women participation in entrepreneurship and innovation actually grows. So I'm going to keep on saying entrepreneurship and innovation as very separate things because they are very separate. Because entrepreneurship means being entrepreneurial. I'm really honored to be in the presence of Miss Blossom Kochhar. I've heard so much about her. It's such a nice thing to actually be in her presence and hear from her. It was nice to hear her speak. So somebody like Miss Kochhar actually started out trying to do something, and now today she employs so many more women, right? See, she's amazingly entrepreneurial, and she actually made sure that her brand was created. People actually were employed, gainfully employed by her, and they went on to become their own small I would say Blossom Kochhar Mafia themselves, where they actually gave rise to many more entrepreneurial women. So that is one way, we make sure that, we highlight role models like Ms. Kochhar, we highlight role models like so many among us to make sure that more young women can actually follow the path of entrepreneurship, and then ensure that the government support mechanisms that are there. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but a lot of times we hear that when an entrepreneur wants to start something, the first thing she thinks is, I need funds. But the fact of the matter is, I think first you need customers. After that is when you need funds, because a lot of big mistakes happen when you think that, if you only have the money, then you're successful. That is wrong. So we actually started by saying, when an entrepreneur says that, I need access to funds, we correct them and tell them that, there's so much more you need to do. But when she is ready for accessing funds, we then check whether the government support mechanisms like the CGTMSE loan mechanisms that are there, which can give you collateral-free loans of up to 2 crore rupees. Is she actually ready to take that? Is she able to do it? What are the hurdles that are there? So things like this, we check for policy effectiveness. And the second thing that I would like to also point out, when the question that you asked is, what is my experience? The experience is that the support mechanisms exist, but I think access to information for women entrepreneurs is what is lacking. And that is a role that entities like WeHub actually are playing, not trying to create something new, but actually saying that, there is so much support that is already there at the state and center. Are you actually ready to use it? If you're not, then how can we help you become that? So that is what we've been doing for quite some time. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and in fact, you've had some good success in Telangana, and and so I was just wondering, would you be open to collaborating with other states and institutions as well?
Yes, that is a very interesting question, Ekta, because we already do collaborate. See, states across the country are competing, right? They're competing in terms of getting more FDI, they're competing in having the best industrial policies, but every state understands that, as a country, if we want to grow more women to be entrepreneurial or become innovators, we need to complement efforts. So as part of that, we are actually doing that already. We are partnered with the government of Gujarat, and we are running who would have thought, right? Government of Gujarat and government of Telangana coming together, a state so far in the west and a state kind of in the center, with different cultures, different sensibilities, and both leading in their sectors, coming together to on one platform, which is women entrepreneurship. We are already doing that. We are partnered with the government of Gujarat. We are running a program with them. We are also partnered with the government of Jammu and Kashmir. The UT of Jammu and Kashmir. We are going to be doing a program there in a few sectors. And we are also partnering with the government of Uttarakhand. So because end of the day, states can compete on anything, but as a country, we need to complement efforts to make sure that more and more women become entrepreneurs and add to the GDP of the country. And then the moonshot for what we are planning to do is that tomorrow any entrepreneur in the world looks at where she wants to start her business, we want her to think India, and that is what we are all working towards. So thank you.
And I think the PhD Chamber will also be in touch with you because they are considering an incubator for women in Chandigarh. I'll come back to you, and I think we'll have more questions from the audience as well. I'll go to Mrs. Geeta Ramesh now. She's really an icon in terms of as being a woman entrepreneur, also from the South, who has built up a huge enterprise. She's also an author of 2 books. So, Mrs. Geeta, we've seen so far that women entrepreneurs are usually active in areas to do with like social sectors, like health or clean energy, zero waste, education, food, nutrition, and sectors related to women's needs. So, can you share from your experience how you developed this wellness brand, and how can we encourage more women to enter this space?
Thank you very much, Ekta. And thank you very much, PhD Chamber of Commerce, for having invited me to this session. I could say why I was in this brand is because we as a family belong to the Ayurvedic physicians family, where we are into manufacturing of Ayurvedic medicines and taking care of people with just medicines. So Ayurveda, as you know, is India's traditional science, but somehow we realized that way around India itself, in the northern region of India, the word Ayurveda was not known. And as the science was, going down and not being awareness, not very traditional science was so important with so much benefits for everybody, we thought of let's take it to its next level where the service sector can be looked into and brought on the top. And for that, we had to do a lot of research. And after doing a lot of research, we realized that our market audience would be somewhere in the northern part of India itself, though there would be a lot of work because the word Ayurveda those days was not even known to anybody in Delhi when we came down to Delhi. We had to literally teach them what Ayurveda was. And we had to, tell them what the subject is and bringing confidence in them. And after getting the results that they got, they started believing in the subject. And that's how Ayurveda started becoming popular over there. But not only did we research that Delhi would be the apt place and the audience market was there, we also had to then look into the human resources, which was very important for the service sector of Ayurveda. So that we had to do it for all the people who belong to Kerala itself, because the knowledge of Ayurveda in its pristine form was known only in Kerala. It was a big surprise to me that, why it was like this. Because somewhere it just got lost. Nobody was doing this subject, and the way we do practice this Ayurveda was only practiced in Kerala, and you call it as a Kerala style of Ayurveda. And so we had to then employ not only women, but also men. And had to take them all to Delhi and give them comforts and everything, and started a journey to Ayurveda for the wellness, not only wellness. We only thought about wellness. At that time, it was whole Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is not just wellness. Ayurveda is treating people for various diseases like arthritis, spondylitis, rheumatism, paralysis, slip disc, you name it, everything you treat. Whereas any other system of medicines doesn't have any cure, whereas Ayurveda has cure for it. And if treated and administered, it is completely cured. And now we could see that when people started coming to get treatments, which they had tried in all other fields of the science and had no much results, and came to us and they got results, they started doing the preventive aspect of Ayurveda, where you say that at least once a week you take care of your body and you can live a disease-free life. That's where the wellness aspect then came to, because we then started putting the preventive aspect into it. And that's how we thought, let's start it in the hometown of Kerala itself, where you have a place to stay with you, look into all the other aspects like the diet, the yoga, meditation, the atmosphere, all that put together where you have a better result and a better pattern of doing the work. So that's how we started as wellness. And slowly we also realized that as we were in Delhi, as I said, in 89, the international market started giving a lot of importance to this subject, Ayurveda. It was a real surprise to us. The people from all over the world used to come to Delhi. So as the travel agents started going to the tourism, the travel agents will bring a bulk of clienteles, like, just to see what this Indian traditional science. There were doctors coming from all over the world, like from Germany. I see a lot of Germans used to come because they at least believed in the system, because they have something like this in the homeopathy, and they thought, let's see what this is. And then that's how we started then marketing our wellness in Kerala, what we started through in tourism. And that's where that's how Ayurveda started to become popular. And then I'm very happy to say that having started Ayurveda, which is so traditional now, it is become an icon for us. Like when you say Kerala, they all think about Ayurveda. And when you say Ayurveda, it is Kerala. And so it was a long journey. So it was not simply that we just started and you made so big, but we had a long journey to go to. We had to map our finances. We had to take care of our production. We had to look into so many things, and that's how we progressed. I hope this answers what you asked me.
Yes, yes. I have, in fact, another question also for you, but I'll quickly come back to Deepti because there's a question from the audience for Deepti. So she's asked that if an e-commerce startup, are they allowed to avail the Startup India and the MSME benefits? And is there any help available for warehousing for women entrepreneurs in the e-commerce space in Telangana? And perhaps, do you have a model that can be replicated in other states?
It's a good question. Yes, there are many opportunities available. And yeah, please drop an email to us. I'll just put my email in there. So just drop an email to us because there's very specific questions, and I'm sure there is so much more detail there that we need to look into. So just drop an email and we can go from there.
Great. So for all the participants, the email is in the chat box. You can ask directly for help with warehousing and all that. So I'll come back to Mrs. Geeta. You were talking about how your brand builds on India's traditional knowledge and heritage. And now it's, of course, Ayurveda is being accepted more and more globally because scientific studies are testifying to the long-term benefits of Ayurveda, yoga, and so on. I mean, yoga is bigger or probably, than any other form of exercise now around the world. So do you think there's an opportunity here for women entrepreneurs specifically? And what would you advise them? Because this is also not a field that anybody can just, try their hand in.
Yes, of course. There's a lot of this opportunity for women entrepreneurs over here, because Ayurveda, as you know, now is yet in this infant state. It is not grown that much. It has to grow such a lot. There's so much research to be yet done for the global market to understand it more. So there are so many things like you can have medical transcription, as women can do that. They can take about, knowing a lot, documentation of plants, that can be taken up. So lots of jobs are there. They can also, you get into the manufacturing field where you can manufacture certain products, because Ayurveda has a range of products. It has from patent products to classical products to even the beauty products, so shampoo, soaps, and all Ayurveda things. So there's a range of products where they could choose, but before they choose, they should understand what is their passion, which sector they want to do in Ayurveda. Like they can also do photography and journalism in Ayurveda. So, and various other things like medical event management or medical tourism. These are all opportunities that's going to come up. Now, as the world is taking so much interest in healthcare, Ayurveda is going to grow. And I think women can also take up research, but only thing they have to do their research properly, where they should do it, which country they should focus on, putting all that in mind, how much money is required, make them map their finances properly, and a lot of effort and motivation should be there within themselves. They should have skills to do this. They should have skills to manage the business. And with all that put together, I'm sure there'll be a lot more India women entrepreneurs wanting to take up this sector of jobs in this sector.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your insights. And we'll, just ask you to hold on for a few more minutes in case
Sure.
the audience has questions. I would now like to, I would like to move on to Mrs. Madhvi Kataria. She's an IAS officer, and she's currently the additional chief electoral officer in Punjab. I would like to give a little background about her. She has many years of course, public administrative experience, and her expertise is in policy formulation and execution of programs regarding women and gender issues, also equity and empowerment and human rights. So I would like to request Mrs. Madhavi to share the valedictory address.
Ma'am, you need to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. In fact, it's been so much of rush all around that now I'm seeing the caption of today's talks, that is empowering women entrepreneurs to steer Indian economy. So please forgive me for my ramblings which are going to come across, and I regret not being able to listen to all the wonderful speakers who have spoken before me, and especially my senior colleague Rakhi ji. I really missed listening to the keynote address. Probably all that would have given me little more subject matter to really address. But having said that, what I feel is that empowering women is what catches my attention the most, rather than the steering Indian economy, which would be the perspective of PhD Chamber of Commerce, obviously. I would see things more from the socio-cultural perspectives. And before I just move on to that, I would like to admit that my current post and my previous postings have not exposed me to really the subject, what government is giving, what other sectors are doing. So I do not really have that that corporate or the commercial or the trade related kind of take on that. But having said that, I feel that government with its policy making, with its new programs based on what sort of demand exists, and all the inputs that go into policy making, seeing where the spaces exist, where we can take the welfare, where we can take the empowerment of women forward. So government at one side will do the policy making, the executive will try to implement, and executive portion is where I come, and that is where a lot of lags occur. Because I feel that when we have so many programs, there are loans, there are other opportunities, they are good on paper, and we all agree that so much actually exists, but we are unable to really tap into those resources. I'm talking from the resources which are from the government side. So many loans, so many banks, so many trainings, so many things are there. So why is it that we have not been able to really take off, especially now that there is this democratization of knowledge, democratization of opportunity with the coming of so much of the web world. I think now the chances are far better. So I would divide the empowering women into two areas. One is our women folk who are from the poorer sections. Second would be those who are in a position to take up startups in a more in a more a profitable manner, which could be competitive, say at local, say at national level, and even international level. So for the lower income or the really poor women, which constitute about 85% of our women entrepreneurs, actually they have the conventional wisdom. They are such great multitaskers as well, all of us are. But I think in view of the scarce resources, their entrepreneurial skills are pretty honed in a major way. And all women have an innate entrepreneurial acumen. And because we have a keen sense of resources, demand, supply, and we have that ability, the inclination to create a pleasant experience. So if it is at home, similarly when we are out in the world of commerce, in the world of economy, we do have the ability to actually deliver well. So at one sense, where we are innately empowered, the only issue is the socio-cultural issue, in which we are not even allowed to recognize our self-worth. I'm sure earlier speakers might have spoken about that. Please don't mind if I am repeating something. So the recognizing of the self-worth, apna mul pachan, like, so जो हम में शक्ति है, जो हमारे गिर्द सभी हमारी औरतों में जो शक्ति है, उसको किस तरह से लेवरेज किया जाए, किस तरह से, what government has planned, what executive has to sort of implement, and actually the beneficiaries, how all this should be networked seamlessly, so we are actually able to deliver. So for the poor women, we've heard of microfinance, we have seen the Bangladesh experience, and we have seen in our own country success stories, mostly down south. What I feel is, and when I talk of even in the PhD Chamber of Commerce sponsored talk, I would not be able to lose hold of those women who actually given us the slightest chance, the bare minimum of resources, how they are really able to excel themselves, and वो बहुत थोड़े अपने amount से भी उसको कैसे multiply करते हैं. But if herein the right complementing forces come in, right, so then actually they will be able to jump out of the poverty trap they are in. Basically, some of these programs they have turned out to be mirages also, that, and they are so minimalistic, and the actual leap is not possible. So for them to have the programs, even if it's micro program, we see the problem of marketing remains there all the time. So we have to see the gaps, these I would call the complementing gaps. They would actually help those women who can really spread their wings. So to provide that wing under their wings is what I feel it needs some thoughtful programs. So therein comes maybe the entrepreneurial development, but I feel along with that, providing them the linkages. We've been talking of linkages in the government sector, and most of us are just verbalizing the things. To take them to the grassroots, to help them stitch up this entire coalition of all those forces who want women to go up, that would require a lot of networking amongst ourselves. Like, I just happened to recall that I was in Canada some time back, and I came across an NGO which was termed probably Dress for Success. It's a very first world thing. But when we talk of empowering women, I am reminded of that example. So what this NGO does is, all the women who are now ready to join workforce, they have collected business suits, they have collected all that a woman would require to go to a workplace. Now this is, I thought, there were so many of us, who, even if we get a job job, we begin to lack confidence because we don't have the entire get up, and we don't have the necessary wherewithal to really feel integrated in the workplace. So that organization, that NGO helps them, write resumes, it gives them trainings, then it has its own stores where people donate, and they book appointments, and you get they make you work ready. So this kind of, it can be also an idea for a startup, besides if some NGOs are doing. So I also remember that how in the West, women had to really fight for equality, fight for so many things, which we got straight away out of our constitution, out of the freedom struggle. So having a base where have been provided with constitutional provisions, and the government committed to that, and we've moved from charity to welfare to empowerment. But end of the day, we still see we still see some sporadic brilliances in women coming up, and we are all the time aware that there is a huge potential. How do we make them really realize their potential? And this only would help steer our Indian economy. uh, I would like to just sum up my this rambling, that for women, for themselves to feel that they can do it, current times are very conducive to that, in terms of those who are a little, who are educated, and those who are not educated, or in very patriarchal setups, or in very conservative setups. Even there, the government programs are there to help them across the barriers. And that is where the executive, we need missionary zeals wherever we have to break the molds. It is a lot of commitment that is required. So I would see that we begin conversations, we highlight those stories, and of course these are being done as well. So for our poor women folk who have so much of skill, who have so much of ambition, because they want to come up in life, this fire in the belly, that, and having some skills, and being really wanting to come up in life, that is something which we need to really focus on. And there are things being done, but I guess that is one area where we could have more you know those women friendly programs, जहाँ पे ये नहीं लगे कि jargon से ना घबरा जाएं, या those sort of things. So, and for our other women, we have seen during the pandemic especially कि किस तरह से Facebook live पे ही मैं देखती हूँ, so many careers have been launched in say clothing and all that. So the net is providing another big area for people to, with scant resources, to spread out. And I think this talk is it's very relevant, and I wish I had some clue what all has gone and what happens here, but I'm happy to just join and share a few thoughts. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kataria. And I think it is being recorded, so there's a possibility you will be able to see the video
Okay,
as
sure.
well later.
I would like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ekta.
I think our audience has questions for our speakers today. So if anybody would like to ask a question, this is your chance. Go for it. There's a question in the chat group as well from Kriti.
I would just like to ask Madhvi ji that how does she like the transformation from whatever she was doing first when she joined the civil services, and now being a part of the electoral group and meeting so many women and forming policies and all, which she has done in the past.
Okay. It's like, remembrancing things past, sort of a thing. Well, in public service, there is always an urge and an opportunity to work for people's empowerment. And most of us join the services also having this strong feeling to be able to contribute. So ever since I joined, I think तब से लेके अब तक एक चीज which has been consistent, that I did consciously try to provide a humane face of the administration. uh, and as you grow in career, the opportunity to do more certainly grows. So well, once I worked in the social services sector, in say finance for the backward classes, the depressed classes, or for social security for marginalized classes, social welfare, women and child development, or say other like irrigation, education. So one common thread that runs amongst all is that there are people whose lot can be improved. So all the policies which I mentioned government makes and then we implement, I saw that at some places there was so much we could deliver. We could overcome the barriers, but some places was there was not so much of you know so much of delivery for public good. So at this stage, when I have come to elections, where I feel it is like uh, the scenario is so huge. We have been trying to reach out to have a connect with the people, to help remove the apathy they have about elections, about democracy. Amongst the youth also, we've been trying to have bonds. I mean, I can't get into detail on that. We can have a full 1-2 hour session on that. But trying to reach, like for instance, we would organize competitions. We would in fact invite, have Facebook live for women, and they would share boliyan. And then we would organize another live where women who have tweaked the traditional boliyan to election democracy, etc. So trying to create interest in the electoral process. And like we've been trying to source from the self-help groups. So to that extent, why I'm mentioning that, bringing the women into perspective. So in our department, we have tried to reach out to women, increase their registration, improve their voting, and try to make them more informed citizens. So to in nutshell, from the beginning till now, it's been a journey where at some places one is able to really see things fructify and people benefit immensely, like the kind of self-help group movement when I was director social welfare Chandigarh, and the kind of heartening stories they were coming. I still remember women said, I never had a Mangal Sutra and I could now buy a Mangal Sutra, and for the first time I have अपने बच्चों का birthday किया, और एक ने किया, I have now a golden chain. These are small stories, but how much it means for them. So all in all, rest of my career, rest of my life, I just want to see people achieving something, and I want to be a part of their smiles. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a question for Deepti. If Deepti is still here. Is Deepti here? Yeah, Deepti, maybe you can turn your camera on. Okay, I'll wait. Yeah, in the meantime, there's a question from Kriti in the audience. She's not able to unmute herself. So I'll ask her question for her. She's asked if we can check for schemes, how we can check for schemes and government finance options as a new entrepreneur, which actually work and are not a mirage. And I think the other question also was related to this, that a lot of government schemes actually require proper licenses and registrations, and only then can these the the entrepreneurs actually take advantage of them. So how do we help women entrepreneurs get the licenses and get the paperwork required to be able to approach these government bodies and get these loans and take advantage of these different schemes? So perhaps someone from the government could answer that, or any of the incubators?
I think Madhvi, you give a nice perspective on this question.
Please excuse me. There was some urgent office work that I had to attend and I didn't. Can you repeat? Sorry, or I don't know what was the question really.
No, the question was that a lot of the government schemes require women entrepreneurs to have licenses and to have certain paperwork which
Right.
they lack. So how do
Right.
we help them to take advantage of these government schemes?
Okay. Okay. So you see, basically, it is not for women, right? It is for everybody. Our system is like, you know, these paperworks, licenses, they've become like an end in themselves. हमारा जो staff होता है, it is not maybe oriented, sensitized, and made accountable that they have to deliver. So पूरे system में हमारा जिस तरह का bureaucratic ये, it is not bureaucrat, it is the entire red tapeism in the system which our country has been afflicted with. ऐसा हमारा legacy issue चला आ रहा है. लेकिन of late, since quite some time, I would say largely after the liberalization phase 1991, the concepts of ease of doing business, etc., have been coming up. So there is a lot of simplification, there is a lot of all that things, but having said that, जितना भी required होता है, उसको अगर और simplify नहीं किया जा सकता, तो let's take the other end. How to make it easy for people, how to facilitate for them that they are able to do that. I think more focus has to be on that, and for that, I think this is where I mean, there should be, see, those offices should have business facilitation, you know, personnel like in the banks they have. And this we have suggested also. But government functioning, things remain different, and I don't think all that is really going to be there. But otherwise, NGOs, you know, there could be NGOs only devoted to enabling women to take loans, to work. Like I saw in US, there was one NGO which was only and only focusing on women to prepare them to believe in themselves and to become politically aware, informed, and prepare them to run. So that NGOs focus that we have to create a crop of women who are able to fight for the elections, and gradually their percentage of the seats they are fighting and winning, it's gradually increasing. Similarly, our NGOs, they or whoever civil service organizations, we have to see कि एक ये one maybe PHDCCI loans in this is how do you facilitate? So I feel this is one area. I would also like to give an example, because all these are empowerment related issues. There was one NGO which was focusing, हम कहते हैं हम judicial side को criticize नहीं कर सकते, but what happens is there are so many biases embedded. So when the judges are interpreting the law or giving their judgments, even then there is so much of bias against women. So what that NGO does is their volunteers are regularly sitting in the court and they are noting where are the biases. Those get reported in the press. So you know, a change will happen when the change agents are actually working in a concerted way and in a focused way. That's what I would say.
Yes, thank you. That's right. And we have a comment, not a question really, but it's a message from Dr. Rehana Habib Khan from SKU AST Kashmir, and she's praised the panelists and the speakers today, and she's saying that she would like to invite you and as a resource person for her university She's an IIC ambassador and would like to enlighten her students and staff, and they want to mentor and incubate them for innovative ideas. So I think PhD chambers would be able to facilitate that. So Dr. Rehana, I think they would be able to help you with that. Is there any other question? You can maybe put it in the chat box if you're not allowed to unmute yourself.
Ekta, I think we should wind up now. We are.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap up now. And yeah, we're 10 minutes ahead of schedule. So I'll call Sartaj now. Sartaj, would you like to, close the meeting today?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ekta. And it's really an honor and privilege for me to be giving this vote of thanks. Starting from Rakhi ji to Madhvi ji, so we have had two very successful IAS officers, women IAS officers that I can say, and who actually have put in the entrepreneurship skills into their life, their resource, their way of working. So the distance not only they have traveled is in the service part, but also along with it in entrepreneurship. Maybe during that time there were very less women. 25 years back, 20 years back, there were very few women in the field that they are treading now. But they have got the whole society, like we all are together, we all look up to them, and we would like to have their blessings with us. We are very grateful and thankful to both of them for giving their time. Rakhi ji, thank you so much. Madhvi ji, thank you for all the, for taking out time, even when you were so busy between the scheduled time also. We are
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And also we would like to thank the entrepreneurs, the women entrepreneurs who have made a difference and who are here. And one of them is Geeta ji, Mrs. Ramesh. I had the honor and privilege of meeting her at one of the tourism events, and her thought process was so poised and so clear and so calm. So thank you, Geeta ji. Then we have.
Thank you very much.
And I don't think you would remember me, but we met at an event at Delhi. So about
Yes,
2 years back.
Okay.
Dipti ji, there is so much of energy in you, so much of positivity. That is why Telangana is the first thing in handling women entrepreneurship and taking it forward, because I am from ISP Hyderabad, so I know the kind of resources and whatever they put in for women entrepreneurship. And another thing, Dipti ji, was very nice. I like the logo of your V Hub, which was behind you when you were speaking. I think you were in your office that time. Thank you so much for being a part of the panel discussion today. This program actually couldn't have been possible without the support and the thought of Mr. Chima. And Chima ji, we are indeed grateful and thankful to you, and hope you handhold us and all the women that we take forward. We have a plethora of so many women entrepreneurs with us, from whom each one of us can learn. The first one being Dr. Aruna Oswal. I liked a very nice thing, ma'am, when you had opened up the launch program. You said that we become women entrepreneurs, or we serve to speak for the other people, for other ladies who cannot be heard. That is such a marvelous thought. That is what we are all doing together here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sartaj. It was a pleasure joining this program of Proxy Series. I have learned a lot today. Really, thank you so much for giving us association with your Chandigarh chapter. Thank you very much.
And Blossom ma'am, we have two things in common. I mean, I don't think you will know about them. My husband is also in the army, and he's also a colonel.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's great.
But like Rakhi ji had said, that we grew up in a time when only your products were there in the market. So
thank you.
We did everything to buy Blossom Culture products to look beautiful and all. And one of them was very famous, was hand cream. If I am that's very, very nice. And thank you so much for.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sartaj. It was a wonderful program, and like Dr. Aruna was saying, that it really, I learned also quite a lot, and it was really very, very good. Thank you.
Your
Thank you.
4 P's are actually very nice. We should
Yeah.
institute that and we'll take it forward. 4
Okay.
P's: product, pricing, placing, and promotion.
Promotion.
They are
Yeah.
the essence. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much. It was
We
wonderful.
missed Archana ji over here today due to some commitment. She could not join in, but I think we will have her on panel next time. And we had a very charming and a very beautiful moderator with us, and who moderated the session very well. Thank you, Ekta ji. Thank you so much. And thank you for being a part.
So much,
Whatever we-
Sartaj. And I think your energy, and I've met you, I've interviewed you before, and I think you yourself are such an inspiration, somebody who really has that sincerity and that sense of purpose and mission, which is so contagious. So I think you're a great role model for women entrepreneurs here.
I would here like to say that there have been 3 very important men who have put this program together for the SHEpreneur talks, and which has been very successful. I would say this was successful because we had a house full and we had people waiting in queue to enter the meeting. So first of all, I would like to thank the chair, that is of Chandigarh chapter, that is Mr. Madhusudan ji. Then we have a very dynamic co-chair, Mr. Khanna, Survat Khanna. Thank you so much. And then Mr. Chima. So these 3 men have supported to bring out the women. Am I right or wrong? Thank you so much. I think I'm 200% right about that. All this.
You're 500% right.
Yeah, thank you.
Without men, we are nothing, you know. So we need to go with that. Yeah.
Actually, ma'am, we feel beautiful in front of men only.
Yes, yes.
We feel we have the advantage over men only.
Yes.
So that's the purpose. And a big round of applause for the Secretariat of PhD Chamber Chandigarh. And that is Madhuji, and one for Jigyasa. She requires to have a big round of applause. Without her support and her putting together of the program, this couldn't have been possible. Thank you, my dear. Thank you all of the guests who have joined in today. Hope you were able to take back a lot of thought processes, thinking to do. So please keep joining us, and every month we will try to schedule a meeting like this. And we would also like to have your suggestions, and all registrations, we will send a feedback form so that you can give in your suggestions, what kind of speakers you want, what do you want, what are the takeaways that you require from the program. So while we're signing off now, thank you so much for making the event a very big success. Thank you, Madhuji. Thank you, the PhD Chamber Delhi, for hand-holding us. Thank you, Madhusudan ji, Khanna ji, and Jigyasa. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Stay safe. Nice meeting you all. Thank you very much. We'll meet soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.